Hello, and welcome to The Relevance of Now with William Linville. My name is Michael Connell. I'm here with Will. Hey, William.
Hi, Michael. How's it going, buddy?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. And how are
Great.
you doing, buddy? You having a lot of fun?
I am having a lot of fun, and I really am grateful and happy to be part of these podcasts and really deepen clarity on what's possible. What's possible in a body. And we're diving deep today into our DNA and what's possible, which was a question from one of your clients. And when we talk about our DNA and the makeup of a newborn child, what's the foundation or what's the makeup of our DNA when we come into a body?
It's a great question. Now, in the second trimester, a child's spirit comes into the body, and the DNA is created in a mixture of the mother's DNA and the father's DNA. And so you have the mixture of that, and then you have the soul levels DNA, and then the multidimensional DNA that all comes through the body. But the primary is the mother and the father's DNA that comes with the physical package. And then you bring in the soul levels DNA, which is your DNA that you're bringing through the body. And as you're bringing it through the body, that's part of the main makeup from your incarnational realms.
Okay. And when you say incarnational realms, let's go a little deeper into our soul level because our mother's and father's DNA and then their uh, ancestors, it's all, that's a large part is what I just heard you say.
Yes.
But then our soul level, and what do you mean specifically about our specific incarnational DNA?
Well, your past lives, all the way from first separation to now, which make up the soul level. So the soul level, which also goes more so into the genetic makeup from the soul monad, from the souls that you continue to travel with. The genetics go, it's more like a stream of consciousness that goes through the body makeup that travels from body to body to body through the physical makeup and all of your incarnational journeys leading up to this one.
Okay. And then when you incorporate the multidimensional DNA, can you share in words more about that?
Yeah, the multidimensional levels is more your higher levels and your higher levels that are coming in. So when you wake up to who you are, it's kind of a crapshoot because you start dissolving the mother and father's DNA, you start dissolving your incarnational effects of the genetics as well, and you start rebuilding the body through your multidimensional DNA to where you start reclaiming your true multidimensional DNA, which goes into 144 strands of multidimensional DNA to where you start superseding the physical makeup. You start letting the body rebuild itself in your image now, rather than just the physical image of how the body was originally created. And you start letting it create itself in your image, no longer the physical blueprint.
Are you saying that our multidimensional DNA is what you refer to as our unique creator consciousness?
Yes. And you start surpassing the 12 double helix strands of DNA, they start to become reactivated, but now in your image, and that goes from the 12 double helix strands of DNA into your universalis DNA, which is the rest of the 144 strands, to where you start remembering who you are, who you truly are, that being of total light. And then your light bodies start to incorporate, integrate, and then you start waking up to your divine abilities. You start waking up to so much more beyond the physical. Your chakra level vortexes start to merge and marry and start to reactivate and re-amplify to where your body starts to go through all of these different divine changes based in you now rather than based in the physical chemistry makeup.
And you referred to our misperceptions. of ourself and from our ancestors and from our soul level. And can you give examples of what those types of misperceptions are?
Yeah, like even through the genetics, it's like my father's father's father had arthritis or cancer or going bald. So I'm going to end up going bald, and they went bald, so they went bald, and the ones before them went bald, so I'm going to go bald. So it's almost like you're assuming you're going to have cancer or go bald, or you're going to be a Lutheran because everyone else was a Lutheran, and on and on and on, rather than waking up to, well, how do I feel about it? And waking up to you and your body now, rather than going through that same makeup of what's been playing out for eons within the family monad in the soul group in which you incarnated with them.
Does the misperceptions and blockages, are they also related to our unique emotions? Like some people tend to be more feel more guilty. Some people might tend to be more angry, and other types of emotions. Are those included?
Yes. And you start to wake up from them, you start to realize, you start to wake up to, well, how do I feel? Rather than going through automatic pilot of action reaction, you start to wake up to, how do I really feel? Rather than being on the action reaction wheel by default.
Well, and now that I looking at this in this way, it's understandable that we in our lifetime, it can seem challenging to move beyond these things
Yes.
because there's a lot of them. It's
Yes.
complex
Exactly.
because now not only are you getting your ancestors' misperceptions and judgments, you're bringing your soul levels. There's all intertwining. And then behind the scenes, there's your multidimensional DNA saying that's like pure consciousness saying, here I am. Pick me.
Exactly.
But you
Exactly.
don't, until you know that, you kind of get stuck.
Yeah.
And when we talk about awakening, when it comes to what I used to learn as our DNA being fixed, can you talk about how they've now proven and what's really the truth about what's possible for our DNA?
Yeah. Once you start your journey, waking up, you're really tossing all the proving and the proof. You're tossing all of it out the window because you're no longer being ran by the DNA, by the RNA, nor by the genetics, because you're stepping out of that gene pool, because you're no longer being ran by an undercurrent. It's kind of like when you wake up to astrology, or you wake up through your genealogy, or you wake up through the zodiac calendar, being a Gemini, a Sagittarius, a Scorpio, and all that fun stuff. You wake up from that and you start to realize that, okay, that's fine and dandy. At one time that was true, but now who am I? And now you start to realize there's more to you, and where those things don't any longer, you don't fit into these boxes. And you start to go beyond the boxes, coming more into you now, rather than being boxed in with any labels or definitions, even with epigenetics. Because epigenetics, with the expression of certain genes and things like that, you start to wake up from the gene pool because you no longer are ran by the genetics.
When we start beginning to be aware of who we really are, and then we're watching all of our thoughts and beliefs and judgments, and we're moving beyond these judgments, acknowledging that they're no longer serving us or no longer beneficial to us. What happens to the DNA?
The DNA starts to reactivate. The double helix strands start to reactivate, including the youth vitality chromosomes start to reactivate. And then the telomere starts to restore itself. And then you go beyond that and you start readopting really automatically your universalis DNA, the 144 strands. You start to arise and arise. Your body's vibratory levels start increasing and increasing to where from there you start rising up and allowing for yourself to start incorporating higher and higher strands of DNA, your universalis DNA, that you start opening up to embodying and accelerating with.
So we're specifically talking about DNA, but it just popped a question into my mind about, are all our cells multidimensional?
Yes, in each and every cell, there's a makeup of the whole universe, which
Wow.
goes beyond the nucleus of the cells.
That's where it's like blows my mind. And then I'm really trying to reconcile what you just said. I reconcile that, okay, any of my thoughts, any of my reactions that aren't love-based aren't me.
Yes, because they're not you.
That they're not this creator consciousness, multidimensional DNA that is makes up all parts of me. And when I do that, I want to see myself more as infinitely intelligent.
Yes,
That because you just, just said that the whole universe is in every one of our cells. And so myself is infinitely intelligent. If I th and I like to see myself more as of a frequency now, based on what you've been sharing,
yes,
that if I'm frequency, well, it helps me acknowledge the truth of who I really am,
yes,
and that anything is possible as each and every blockage that is in my awareness, in my consciousness right now, um, is like I'm at one frequency of infinite intelligence with some blockages,
yes,
misperceptions of how Creator created things to be in a body on a planet.
yes,
And when we think of people spontaneously healing of physical challenges, you had mentioned that before, that about physical challenges, that because we are a facet of creator consciousness, our multidimensional DNA is within us, it's always possible for the body to release a blockage, and then DNA turns on differently and off differently in the cells, and then the cells can be in optimal health and well-being.
absolutely. And so much of that occurs when you're out of the mind and when you're focused on your heart and whether you're allowing or letting everything be what it is, it's where you're in your heart and allowing for everything else to restore itself.
Wow. If we could say we have a purpose, or how things were created, and I think I know I've heard you say this, but really we were created to discover this.
Yes,
It's and move beyond it. It's like a game.
exactly.
We're learning that we can experience life from a higher level of awareness and frequency, just like we were created to be.
Exactly.
And we use the term love and joy um, to describe how we were created, because when we have those feelings, our whole body tingles.
Yes. And it lightens up big time.
But even those words are more just a human word, not the full extent of our multidimensional self, our created self, our creator self.
Yeah, their presences.
I've been assisted by you for over 20 years.
Hmm.
And today, or recently, this year, is the first time I could say all that and put it all together. That it's like so vast, and when you're trying to wrap the mind around it to explain it, it's taken me that long to try to get there. And what I'm also reflecting upon is in so many different ways over that 20 years, you've shared this.
Yes.
Um, for all of us, or it can just be like you can take on so much at one point, and then you can take on a little more understanding at another level. And then it's like through the repetition, and also now as you've shared recently in your video about what's going on now, you've shared things are much more available for us from our higher level perspective.
Yeah, most definitely.
And so maybe that's how the clarity is coming in a little bit more clearly.
Very much so.
Sounds awesome, Will. This has been so helpful. Thank you for all your presence and sharing with us this clarity, helping us keep it simple, and at the same time allowing us to begin to wrap our heads around it, no matter where we are in our journey. Thank you all for joining us. This is The Relevance of Now with William Linville. Please click subscribe. Join us next time. Namaste.